Oh, so happy to have people coming into the room, the Zoom room with us. We are so excited to get to talk together about one you fight about the same thing every December. Thank you so much for joining with us, guys. I'm so excited to have you here. And as you get settled, feel free to adjust your screen. Just continue to make sure that you give yourself opportunity to get comfortable. Make sure you turn your camera off as far as just the sound if you're not speaking. But otherwise, we want to see you if you're here and you want to be seen. It is so fun. I'll come back to you guys in just a second. But first of all, just thank you so much for joining with us as we talk about lots of things with the instincts in December. And we've been doing this on the podcast. So I'm so glad to have you here. Melody, you're letting people in, right?
Yes, yes, I am.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. I'm going to come back to you guys for a second here and see if anyone wants to say a physical hello. Hi, guys. Oh my gosh, so glad to have
Um,
you. Oh my gosh, Kitty is joining us. That is fun. Bonnie is here. Melanie, yay. So glad to see you guys. Also, I want to say if I pronounce this right, Jayan, but tell me if I didn't, or if you want to. Also, Mr. Lower, welcome. And then a couple others of you, Shalon, hello. And also, just of course, Anonymous, we love you. Feel free to share your name, everybody in the chats too, as people come and go. And Melody, thank you so much for being here and letting us all have your beautiful presence too.
yes, of
Melody
course.
and Melanie.
Mhm.
One silly fun thing to start us out before we even do our intros is to tell you that one of the sillinesses of a type 7 is that when I'm in stores with my kids, I have just decided they all get code names. This is my self-pres silly 7. So Melody, what is your code name?
Melanie.
Yeah. And Hannah is Anna. And Jack is, I think we said John.
Jack is Zach. I think
Zach.
it's Zach.
It's just a silly, fun thing I do when we're Christmas shopping. So I just had to add that silliness for us. But so glad to have you here. Today we are going to talk both lightly, like we just did, as well as serious, because we have lots to discuss in this hour. And you guys can put anything you want in the Zoom chat, but Melody, I'm going to use your real name here to not make it confusing. Can you please put the free Advent, just the freebie we've been sharing in the email in case anyone wants to look at that or just have that because maybe they've been busy this season. And I'll go ahead and let the next person in. But if you don't mind sharing that, that would be perfect. Because that way you can grab that freebie if you just want to make sure you look at that too right now. And I'm going to share my screen with you guys. I'm going to record as well so that those who wanted to be here but couldn't to be here can also learn. But also love seeing that fellow type 7 Bonnie here. So if you guys want to share in the chat your Enneagram type, and if you know your instinct, you can share that too. That would be so fun to see. Is what types do we have with us today, right now, as we talk about really the big topic today, which is what you fight about and why you fight about the same thing every December. But first, some fun, like we said. What is your holiday guilty pleasure? In addition to your Enneagram type, feel free to just think this out or share it in the chat. That includes you too, Melody and Melanie. But would you say it's Hallmark movies? Would you say it's eating some of your favorite goodies? Or, of course, you see some of the others too, but drop it in the chat to tell us what is one of the favorite things you've been doing for a holiday guilty pleasure. I don't know if my daughter knows this, but I was actually watching the new Michelle Pfeiffer Christmas movie out, and it was so silly. I was just making dinner yesterday watching it and having a little fun with like a total Hallmark movie, and I was rolling my eyes, but it was a great little 30 minutes break. And that's what I want you guys to remember is let these little guilty pleasures come as long as they're safe and have fun with them. Oh my gosh, I love to know what you're doing. And I'll be checking in a few minutes to see. So feel free to share them with each other and even allow yourselves to have some fun in the chats too. If you want to ask each other questions, if you see somebody with you or your partner's type, you can ask them, like, hey, what about this at the holidays? And like I said, we're going to talk about instincts today too. You may or may not know your instincts, and we'll get into that. Melody, before I actually move to the next slide, what is your holiday guilty pleasure?
I have a tendency to buy way too many presents, as Bob
Oh,
knows. And it's not even like a selfless act. It's more so that like I just really like online shopping and finding gifts for people. So that's definitely a big one. And also like baking. Like I feel like I make so many cookies every year and which can be good, but like it gets excessive. So that
yeah.
too.
Oh, yes, you are such a gift giver. I am learning this so much about you, and you have such a beautiful gift giving style. But with you on, it's okay, we don't always have to do that. So that's good that you know that too. And lots of peppermints for Melanie. I love that. And oh my gosh, you have several Secret Santas. That is such a good idea and a way to be social for Bonnie. Oh my goodness. I love that. And I love how Shalon says that you get lots of requests to make your peanut butter cookies. And then, yes, you have to eat some before you give them away. That is hilarious. I love that you just were so real with us because I do that too. And I feel like people need to just own that. So thank you guys. This is great to see. And yeah, I think probably as we look at each other, we're like, ah, yeah, I have some of those too. So it's nice to remember when we need to, as we let others in, just we're allowed to have a few ways to self-soothe and allow ourselves that moment to say, when I am having a hard time with my partner or just with myself, right? A family member. I know some of us had hard times at Thanksgiving, and I had to go back to some of my holiday guilty pleasures to say, okay, Melody, I don't know if you remember this, Melody, but remember when I said my extended family is getting hard and we need Stacy to come pick us up and take us to Starbucks. You remember that?
Yes, yeah, I was on board with that idea.
We were like, come get us. And she, my best friend who's a two, was so happy to do it. Of course, being a two, she's like, what do you need? So we needed her and we asked her for help and she came to the rescue. So make sure you know your people and go ahead and do those holiday guilty pleasures when you feel too stressed out, even if it's within yourself. And I'm going to give us a breath work practice because let's be honest, I don't even live in the same state with Stacy. That was really a blessing, but I don't always have that. So, today, other than these fun parts, we're going to unpack your desires and instincts. And even if you know them generally, we're going to use the holidays as our framework today to keep it interesting. And then we're going to learn some of your predictable patterns and how to break unhealthy cycles and give you tools for today. You might already have seen the PDF we've been sharing. It's free. At the end, we'll share another free, actually paid PDF if you're like, I need a little more that we have a sale on. But it's totally fine. We're not expecting that. We're just here with you to support you and very happy to just get this time together we never get. So I'll keep asking little questions here and there, but let's dive a little deeper in and get comfortable and cozy because it is safe and we're just trying to figure it all together. So let's try to look together and hope you're ready. It's a very sweet question, but you don't have to write it in the chat unless you want to. But if you do, like I said, go right ahead. And that is, do you have a signature type of fight that happens every December? And this is not a surprise question. You knew this question was going to be out there, but it is a vulnerable one, like I said. because it's embarrassing, right? And sometimes we even have slippery fights that we're not expecting. Like, I already had one this season with my husband where I wanted to be included in something socially, and he had forgotten. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would have loved to go, but I had a client right then. And he's like, oh yeah, I just found out myself an hour ago. And it was like one of those moments where I'm not even that social, but I really wanted to know about it. So also understand that sometimes, like me, sometimes the arguments aren't even the same types because you're not just one desire type of person. You have all different kinds of desires, and they show up in weird ways sometimes every December. But I would love if you feel like sharing. Now that I gave that example in the chat, go ahead and share if you have had one this season or if you just think you might have one ahead and if you can predict it because we're all human. And like I said, mine was wanting to be included socially this year. And maybe for you, it's, oh my gosh, I just want time to myself. Or I want my parents to leave me alone. That was something actually somebody at the salon told me this week. It's just, I want my extended family to stop trying to control me. And I said, oh, I totally get that. So thank you for starting to share. I'll be looking at comments too, but I know Melody will be as well. So, and as we think about what are these arguments really about, they're not usually about the thing, whatever it is. They're usually about the fight underneath the fight. And the fear is often about resources or belonging or connection. So maybe you're thinking, why are you so up in arms about hosting or inviting or being home? But it's people's deepest fears showing up. And on the holidays, maybe because of the dark times of year or maybe because of the heightened expectations, we have them a bit more. I'm going to have you look at these instincts yourself and just read them for a moment. Take time to look to see about these instincts, and we're going to even do a little quiz before we get into talking about them a bit more. But just take a look at the self-pres and the sexual and the social. Okay, think about which one you might be. And we're going to have more chances to talk about them too, because we all have all three, but one is usually dominant, especially when we're under stress. So before we take the quiz, let's see where we're all at physically. And in the chat, just tell us, where are you joining from today? And if you don't want to tell, just say cozy at home, of course, or something similar. But would love to just know, and in addition to your types, but just where you're coming from. I'm going to go ahead and stop the share so I can see the chat a little bit too. Okay, Washington, Colorado, North Carolina. Awesome. Another Washington. Snowfilled, Northern Canada. Oh my gosh, how fun. Oh my goodness, Panama, Central America. So wonderful to have you here. Pennsylvania. Oh my goodness. Yes. Oh my goodness. And thank you so much, Shalon, for being vulnerable that you want to do all the things. And then your husband's like, I want to lay low at home. Oh my goodness. And Jayan, yes, I love to leave the family gatherings ASAP, but he wants to hang out with the whole family as long as possible. Oh my goodness. I see that so much. And sometimes it's even different people that we want to hang with, where we're like, well, this group, I would actually be willing to stay longer, but this one, I want to go home with. I need my cozy space. And I know you get that melody when we hang with different people in the family. And it's like, this one, let's keep going with. We just did a huge Dave and Buster's Thanksgiving. And I think we kind of just loved that simple time. But there were definitely other times we said we're ready. So we really get you guys. Oh my gosh, thank you guys for sharing that. Okay, let's share our screens again for a moment as we think about this together. So I'm going to have Mel read out loud on the quiz and just use the chat or the Zoom polls. There's only 5 questions, and I want you to answer honestly based on what you do under stress not who you wish you were. Because it's a little more helpful when we actually say, okay, like you heard me say, sometimes I slip into social, or Bonnie today said, hey, I love my social, but sometimes we might slip. Bonnie and I were actually talking recently, and sometimes we slip into one of the other instincts or desires. So think about yourself under stress. And guys, let me be honest with you. Sometimes you think I'm normally self-pres, sexual, or social, but under holiday stress, you might find you show up a little differently. So, is that okay, Mel, if I have you read the next 5 questions out loud?
Yes, no problem.
Okay, perfect. Okay, here you go.
When holiday stress hits, my first worry is A, money, logistics, health, or whether we can handle it all. B, family dynamics, what people will think, or if everyone will get along. And C, whether my spouse and I will stay connected or become distant. Type A, B, or C into the chat.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'm just looking myself too. Okay. Wonderful. People are starting to answer. Some are wanting to put it in the chat. Others, that's okay if you don't. I'm going to go ahead and move us to question 2.
My ideal holiday looks like A, cozy, comfortable, well rested, with everything under control. B, meaningful gatherings where everyone feels included and connected. Or C, deep, intimate time with my spouse without too many distractions. Type A, B, or C in the chat.
These are great. I can see that people are starting to even have a few themes. I love to see this adding up. Okay, let's go to 3.
I feel most stressed when A, we're overscheduled, overspending, or I'm physically depleted. B, there's conflict in the family or I feel like we don't belong. C, my partner and I feel like roommates just managing logistics.
Hmm.
Type A, B, or C in the chat.
Okay, good job, everybody. Thank you. Thinking this through so well. I can see my theme and I'm like, oh no, there's 2. It's okay if there's 2 if you're like me. Okay, go ahead with 4, Mel.
In conflicts with my spouse, I'm usually worried about protecting our resources, time, or well being. B, maintaining harmony and making sure no one's upset. Or C, making sure we don't lose our connection in the chaos. Type it in the chat.
Perfect. These are just sort of some right now and in generals. And then let's do one more.
During the holidays, I most want A, to feel like we have enough time, money, or energy. B, to create warm memories and I feel like everyone belongs. Or C, to maintain passion and intimacy with my partner. Type A, B, or C in the chat.
And I'm going to look a little more carefully at the chat. Yes, I love how Bina said there's 2 of them sometimes. Oh my goodness. Yes, we have a lot of socials here. And you know what's so interesting about that is that when people are more social, they tend to show up more to stuff like this. So that makes sense. But I know some of you are typing in other answers too. I'm just noticing, okay, because we're going to show that when you see your results, you have, if you were mostly A's, mostly self-pres, B's mostly social, and C's mostly sexual or one-to-ones. So tell us, because some of you weren't social, I'd love to hear which one felt most like you in this season. And then later you can also, because it's recorded, if you want, you can go back and show your spouse too and have them take it. or family members because it's so
Mhm.
helpful to know. I've always said my family is all sexuals, not my people I live with, but my extended family. And I really would like to test them, but I haven't. I've just noticed it. And so it would be fun for all of us to test the extended family for those who are willing. And then Melody in our family, what are most of us, would you say?
I think we've got a pretty good mix, but I feel like mostly social.
Hmm.
Me and Jack and Dad are social, and then Hannah's kind of varies. I feel like she's self-pres, and then you're self-pres.
Yeah. And we really like the one-to-ones. That's the one I struggled a lot with too. And I like social, but I really tend to clamp down a bit more on my energy and my time. So I love that we have three socials to keep me balanced. And I love that you guys do that for your families too. I think holidays social is a really good gift to have. And then also others of you are saying, I don't have just that one or I have a different one. So, of course, you can do this if you want to, but just give a thumbs up if you're self-pres. If you're social, give us a heart, show us your love. And then if you're that sexual, show us your fire. And I love how you said equal, Melanie, because that's really cool that you're noticing that about yourself as I let somebody else in. I'm seeing that there's a lot of people with that one-to-one. There's a lot of people who had some A's, some self-pres like me. Okay, Jayan, yeah, that's you and I get along so well. You get me. Like, and I don't think people realize like a lot of times your friends will be the people who you find have a similar flair with you. But your partner will often have a different one. And of course, that's what the person at the salon said this week too, doing my hair. She's like, why is my partner I'm dating different? Does that make any sense? And I'm like, it absolutely does. I mean, it's fine if you're the same. I know Melanie in our group has the same, which is a beautiful gift to them. But if it's different, you guys also have a beauty where you help each other with the thing that you're missing, right? And you can really work together on that to say, hey, you know what? Like, let's talk about what's going on underneath. And I'm going to give you some applications for that right now today, because I feel like that's, what always happens. And really, I think it's fun to say because your partner's not here and you don't know. But if you are partnered or have been partnered and you can tend to find the same, like, oh man, I'm always with a social, tell us in the chat about your partnership. Tell us, hey, I'm this and my partner's this. Because it's fun to see, even if you're the same or different, just what pairings we have today. You already heard me say kind of self-pres with social, but once in a while I flip-flop where I'm like, Wes, I wanted to be social, like recently. Okay. Oh, okay. Melanie said, yeah, her husband's more one-to-one. So interesting. And then we have a sexual, Sarah and her husband are different sexual and self-pres. And then we have Michelle, social and sexual. Bonnie, social and sexual. Oh my goodness, this is so interesting. Oh, and Jayan, your husband is social while you're self-pres, and Renee, social self-pres. So lots of different pairings out there. And there's none like better than each other. People always ask me that every single time I go on a podcast. They always say that. And I love that you are also noticing, Bina, hey, I have different ways of reacting when I'm in stress, but I also relate to the others. And to me, that speaks of really good care when you're not locked in on one, but when you can move fluidly through the three. And if you can do that in the holidays, you will have such a more peaceful holiday. Just first and foremost, if you yourself can say, yeah, I'm this one, but I'm really committed to the balance, you guys are going to thrive, seriously. Okay. So here's what we said with socials. If this was you, you love belonging, you love harmony, you love connection. And some of you know I'm writing my book, The Three Desires, on this topic too. And Mel and I were just talking, Melody and I were just talking the other day. And social is all about hierarchy too, isn't it, Mel?
Yes, I noticed that like even if I'm not like trying to be like on top, I'm very aware of like who is and
Yeah.
like how the group is responding to like that kind of forced leadership in the hierarchy.
Hmm. Yeah, and it could be like she wants to police or watchdog to make sure somebody's not taking unhealthy leadership. So, hierarchy doesn't have to mean you're like, I have to be on top, but it could if you're not quite as healthy. But the holiday focus is going to be more on who will get along, what will people think, are we creating meaningful memories, how are people being included? But then, when under stress, people pleasing over functioning. And feel free to write anything and everything you want in the chat too. If you're like, yes, this is what I do, feel free to name that or to even say, I also think this fits me with social. When I go through my book, I'm going to go through even much deeper dives on that. Okay. Now, Mel, would you be able to read the self-pres for us?
Yes, of course. So the self-pres core need is security, comfort, and resources. Their holiday focuses may look like, do we have enough money? Can we handle this schedule? Will we get sick or burned out? Or is our home comfortable? Under stress, they can be controlling, withdrawn, or rigid.
Yes, this is so big for self-pres. And you can already hear me saying that where I'm like, oh, we also have a PDF for sale, but you don't have to get it. Like, and what did I tell you I want for Christmas mainly, Melody?
Well, she always says experiences, and
Yes,
then
I'm
she
not like
secondly
all about
says
money.
Starbucks gift cards and workout clothes for our
Okay,
classes together.
okay, so I did give some real things. You busted me.
But
Okay, well, I'm
overall,
gonna
it's experiences, which Starbucks is an experience.
yes, these are all things I have asked for this. Okay, she's revealing my seven gluttonous. Okay, let me try to hint around. Did I say, let me think if I ever said, do I want nothing? I don't know that I would say that. I think I said it differently. I said, I would like a song. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yes, but that's an experience as well.
Yes. But I'm like
Hopefully a
self-pressed.
good
So I'm
one.
like, you don't have to spend anything, just a
Yeah,
song. But
she
like,
says don't spend anything. She's like, just get me a song, like something we'll do together.
yes.
It's almost social, but it's not because she's not revealing anything in her self-pres, which is funny.
Right. We're also quirky, guys. So just know that I'm one of the quirky people out there doing this work with you and like just trying to like be a bit more expansive. Okay. Now, how about this one, Mel?
The core need for sexual or one-to-one is intensity, depth, and intimacy. Their holiday focuses may look like, are we staying connected? Is this bringing us closer? Are we losing us in the chaos? Or do I have your attention? Under stress, they can be demanding, intense, and dramatic.
Yes. And this can be where a lot of us get into our fighting, even if we're not normally SX. Like sometimes the holidays can bring this out. And I was just noticing like the word I want to carry with me this holiday is gentle, because I think that a lot of times we can just carry, even like I said, if this is not us, but especially if it is, a sense of like, I have to get this, like, I want my passion, I want my thing, I don't want to lose you. It can feel so scary to think you might lose your partnership. But here's the thing, when we push really hard here, our partner moves away. We become the pursuer out of the pursuer distance or dance, and our partner runs away. So I've had this already rise up in me a few times this holiday, and I've had to really watch myself to say, okay, calm down. You're safe. And again, we're going to go through a practice today, but allowing ourselves to just be able to see it. Yes, this is happening. I'm worried we're not close. And one simple thing I do to stay close with Wes in the holidays that we just did Sunday night was we had a date night, and it was a simple one. I lowered expectations for it to be amazing and perfect, and we just had an ice cream for him, and we had gotten my shoes, which was my comfort self-pres. And so just simple things to keep you in that one-to-one. Another thing you guys can do is say, let's plan for sexual intimacy. We could lose us if we don't. And I'll come back for comments in a minute too. But I just wanted you to know that there's also a predictable pattern for each of these styles in the conflict. So we're going to break down, I'm going to have Mel read through the most common ones you can see, and I'll look through the comments as she's sharing those. But these are some of the predictable patterns you're going to see. So go ahead, Mel, whenever you're ready.
Self-preservation under stress may have a pattern of gets controlling about money and schedule, withdraws to protect energy, focuses on worst case scenarios, becomes rigid about plans, and what they're really trying to say is, I'm scared we don't have enough.
Mm-hmm. And that's good for you to know what's underneath what I'm doing. Because I was getting really rigid about plans recently, and I was like, I see it. I see it. And sometimes, though, if you're not intentional, you don't see it and you're not sure. Okay, take a look at this one, Mel.
The sexual subtype under stress would be a pattern of becomes demanding of attention, gets intense about the relationship, feels jealous of time spent elsewhere, or creates drama to feel connection. What they're really saying is, I'm scared of losing you.
Yeah. And that is, again, what's underneath that could even be named. If you're feeling that sense of, gosh, I'm mad and I want to spout it out to them. If you can get to that underneath pattern and say that instead, your partner can speak to that versus just your angry words or tone. Okay, and how about this one, Mel?
And then socials may have a pattern of overfunctions to keep everyone happy, says yes to everything, avoids conflict at all costs, loses boundaries. What they're really saying is, I'm scared we don't belong.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a sense of when we're needing to have support, we might not have it if we stay within ourselves. I've talked before about how during a hurricane, I so appreciate our neighbors and the ways we can serve each other. And actually, one of the counselors on my staff had COVID last week, as Melody knows, and she lives on my street. And we were bringing flowers and soup and if we didn't know each other, like she's like, somebody's out of, I think her husband was out of town, and it's like she just needed social. And it's totally understandable why, if we don't have good social, we'll feel the sense of like fear. So even though I'm not a high social, I think we all realize how important that one is. And for a lot of you, that was the very core movement of childhood. So even when you think about self-pres, sexual, social, think for a moment and just close your eyes if you have not driving and give yourself permission to just think about what it was like when you were growing up and why you think that instinct might be the most important to you now. Just take a moment to do that. And go ahead and open your eyes whenever you're ready. And you can take a look at the next screen also. I'm going to have Mel read some of the pairings that we see, the ways we see the pairings play out. Why don't you go ahead and read these? These are not all the pairings, there's 6 total, but read these ones, Mel. Thank you.
Self-present social are we can't afford it versus we have to include everyone. Self-present sexual are let's keep it simple versus let's do something special together. And social and sexual are we have to see everyone versus I need time with you.
Yes. And of course, these can take different varieties. Thank you so much for sharing. It's going to be we can't afford it time-wise sometimes, or you might find like me again, oh wait, I slipped into social again, or I slipped into a different one that I'm used to. But usually when there's a collision, your spouse happens to be sitting in an opposite space. And that's good for you to know. So think about yours and type it in to the chat if you're comfortable. Again, you don't have to. You could type it into your phone, a journal, me and my family, or because that might be where some of your fights come in, or me and my partner. But we always fight about, one of these things. One of my arguments I got into with a family member, and we did a pretty good job healing it. We weren't rude, but we were just both heated. Was when I had a client, and right, I don't want my plans to break. And my brother was like, "Oh my gosh, we want to extend our visit," and I was like, "No, I have a plan. My schedule is very important to me, and this client needs me, this couple." And so it was like, "Hey, this is the one I'm going to expect with him." And he's a one-to-one. So he wants that one-to-one time. And so you might think of yours. And it might be your partner or a family member. So I'll give you a moment to type or think that out. Oh, good. You guys appreciate you being vulnerable here. And I get that so much, Rennie, about time together versus alone. Yes. And also, Melanie says, what was said? Clarity. That can be a really big one of not even remembering what was said sometimes. And that really, I mean, when we're over 100 beats a minute on our heart rate too, that can be huge. And so that one-to-one battle right there of like, are you here paying attention to me? Can be just even two of us. And you know what's amazing is I like how you named sometimes two of us getting locked into the same instinct, but it going different directions. Another example of that is I want to go to my family, they want to go to theirs, or something similar. We had one over the holidays with Wes and his sister that's very simple, and this is why I know I can share it. Is he's so social that he wanted to organize a family basketball game with both sides of our families in Michigan. Um, and that's how he wanted to visit his one of his siblings. And that's the only way he was going to see that sibling. And that sibling is more of a one-to-one. And they were like, "Excuse me, this is a very social event to visit with." But that family member and I talked it out a lot, and she was really calmed down by the time we talked it out, and she was laughing about it by the end. And she's like, "That's my brother." And honestly, if because it was my sister-in-law, she's like, if he wasn't this way, it wouldn't be Wes. And I loved how she reframed that. And I want you to see the health in that. Like, you know what? Yes, this comes up for me. But you know what? That's who I love. And again, back to the salon, the lady was like, if it wasn't, this is the same thing I love about this person is the same thing that kind of drives me crazy about them. And that's not always the case, but a lot of the time it is. So just normalize that. You know what? I love that my person cares about me on a one-to-one level. Or it's really good that they're checking our budget at this time of year. One of you said that to me recently. I check our budget, and the other one, saying, hey, like I make sure we get to our events on time or that we know what they are. So let's say you see your pattern. Here's how to break it, right? That was really part of the reason we came today was just to finally be together. But also, we really wanted to just have better movements when we're in this moment. And let me go ahead and let somebody in here. But step one is recognizing that you're in the pattern versus just, oh my gosh, they're the villain. So first, just recognize, oh my gosh, we're doing it again. This is the pattern. And it might even be it's turned over a little bit in a weird way because it's the holiday and we're both being social but differently, or we're in our one-to-one and we're fighting it out right now. Um, and then also just allow yourself to pause and breathe right there. Just allow a nice breath before it escalates. And this could be done with each other. I do this with my sessions all the time, that people are just in my sessions having the breath. So don't think for a minute that you can't do this right while you're in it, because you can keep it from escalating if you do that. And then we're also at that point going to use translation. And I'm laughing because my son and I have been doing biology today, and we were talking about DNA translation. But this is not that. This is more fun. This is translating the complaint. What is my instinct actually afraid of? And it's not fun in the sense of like, yay, but it's fun in the sense of like, oh my gosh, I'm figuring it out. It's not a mystery. It's not that my spouse and I are hero villain. This is decipherable. This is a pattern. And this is what I'm afraid of. And that, my friend, is what you and your partner or you and your family member need to talk about. And I know that's vulnerable, but like my sister-in-law said, at the end of the day, that's who my husband is. At the end of the day, this is who you are. So just being real about it is so important. And just saying, I'm afraid of this. And you know what? Even if they don't hold you in that, you can hold yourself in that. Because sometimes we'll be dysregulated, right? Like I might want to be like, oh, yeah, the minute you tell your spouse they're going to come out of defensiveness, they're not going to be upset with you anymore. They're going to be so happy. No, sometimes they're still very dysregulated. And it can take 30 minutes usually to calm down. But I'm saying it helps you. It helps you to know I'm going into my pattern again and I'm breathing and I'm noticing. And that right there breaks the pattern. It's you, it's not them. It's you doing your work to break your pattern just by noticing and breathing. Because when you breathe, you allow. You allow space for God, you allow space for each other, you allow space for grace. And if we're getting nerding out with physiological issues, you're allowing your body to return to homeostasis, which is what we really want when we're feeling dysregulated. So just think about that for a moment. And we'll have Melody read aloud these examples so we can translate the complaint. And that way it might be familiar as you think not just about yourself, but your partner too here.
Translation examples include what they say versus what they mean. You're being cheap versus I'm scared we won't have enough for self-pres. You never want to see my family versus I'm scared we won't be safe if something happens in groups. Social or you're always too busy versus I'm scared I'm losing you. Sexual.
Yes. And so I bet you can think of one. And if you feel like naming it in the chat, you can even name one that a partner maybe has used with you in the past or a family member. And so we could look at my brother right there. I'm scared of losing you, right? That was scary. Or Wes's sister, you're always too busy. Those are scary moments for people in your family. Even if you're like, I can't believe it. Why would they ever do that? When we can see not only ourselves, but translate one another a bit better, it's really healthy. I love how you said that the SX resonates for you, Melanie. Yes. And also, I love how I'm hearing, yeah, the one you never want to see my family. That's a really common one. And sometimes when we're honest with ourselves, we don't want to see certain people that much. But what we have to understand is these are our partner's way of staying safe. And so if we try to take that, there's going to be fighting words or behaviors because nobody wants to be threatened and afraid. Nobody wants to feel like, oh my gosh, you're my only security. Like even if you're married or not, you don't want to put all of that security in one other person. That is not healthy for you. So now I'm going to give you a turn to practice. Think of something your partner said recently that hurt or frustrated you. So this is just allowing a moment. You can close your eyes if you want, or leave them open and write it out into your phone or your computer. Just think of something somebody or a partner said recently that hurt or frustrated you. And now translate it. What was their instinct actually afraid of? And type it in the chat if you want to share that translation. And you don't have to type it, but I'm going to give you about 1 more minute for this. Great job on just allowing yourself to think about it. And I see people starting to type in, and others just, it's hard to think about this. So you don't always want to. And we had another person say, you don't want to see my extended family. And not being enough. And that's, I think that that not being enough right there is, that is hard for a partner to look at, to say, oh my gosh, what if I'm not enough for you? That's scary. And so when you think of this, man, this is my partner's deepest survival wiring. It makes you more gentle, which was that word I said I want to keep coming back to this season. And it makes you kind because you realize I'm not the only one out there. So I hope that you can text them and be kind and say it to their face. I'm sorry, sometimes without excuse, just when you find yourself clinging so hard to your instinct that you forget theirs. And so we're going to give you just a few tools you can even use today just to really allow yourself to process with us. So if you're tending to be more self-pres, name the fear out loud. I'm worried we won't have enough rest, money, or energy. And I know if it's rest, which is a huge one for me, Melody, what is something I told all the girls in your dance group that I do for rest?
Oh, to prioritize rest as like the core of what you do so you don't have burnout in like your body physically as well as like mentally, and in relationships as well. Getting
Yes.
like your full sleep, but also like emotional rest and like relational.
Yes, I was able to speak to the very high intensity group about that, and we were joking, but I also take little naps everywhere. And one of Mel's friends says
Yeah.
she's starting to do that, and they're not naps, they're literally like 60-second shut-eyes, right, Mel?
hmm It works. So I tried it during like our musical season,
Oh,
and I was like in the middle of the forum where everyone's walking. I was just like laying on the couch and it helped.
oh my goodness, I'm so glad it helped. So if you're like me, self-pres sometimes, just allow a little rest, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever it is, say the fear out loud. And it might be right? I'm worried I won't have enough. Maybe I'm a parent of little kids, or maybe I'm, dealing with a big work event and I don't know what I'm going to do. And then for the sexual, just schedule. And one of the couples who's coming on our pod in January, I've already pre-recorded, and it's this line sticks out to me. They said Marriage 365. They're a huge marriage group. You probably know them. But Casey and Megan, they're so sweet. And they were joking around about this sexual instinct. And they said, people always say scheduling intimate time is so boring and not romantic. And they were literally like, oh, I'm so sad that we scheduled our intimacy and we both had a great orgasm. And they just were laughing about it. Like, guys, let's be practical. You get a date night, or you get a one-to-one coffee with your bestie, or you get to have a Zoom chat with your best friend, or you get to schedule the sexual connecting time. But it may not be as romantic as that first chemistry of meeting somebody, but it's pretty darn romantic to set aside time, which is your biggest commodity, to really love somebody. So I think it's very romantic to schedule connection time, especially in a busy holiday. And then social. And this one's big for a lot of you, setting boundaries without guilt. One thing that I was talking to somebody about earlier today was sometimes social people forget that having good boundaries is part of really being good socially, because for those who are biblical scholars, or enjoy the Bible or believe it, there's this great verse that says a person who has too many friends comes to ruin. And I used to be so in my social that I didn't even know that. And now I think that when we're healthy socially, we set our boundaries with, I'm not going to say without any guilt, because I still feel guilt, as you've maybe heard me say on the pod, but much less guilt because I realize I can give to the people that I'm actually with so much better versus always, oh my gosh, I have to be with everybody. So, and I was talking to a client about it this morning because she has two huge jobs medically. And I was like, if you actually, you'll probably have literally like a person who I'm not even kidding you sees 50 to 75 patients a day. And so it was like, you might not get to 50, but you might have to let God be God and you might get to 30 really quality. So being able to say, I care deeply and I need to protect our time. And you can already imagine what I'm helping that client through is it's not even through Enneagram and marriage, but so that their spouse who is more self-pres sexual doesn't break up with them because they were coming to me in a very tipping point moment. So it's important that you know this all goes back to how well you relate with your family, with your partner. So just think about yours. You probably already have been. And what's the solution? And that's going to be your tool. So is it going to be naming it? Is it going to be a catnap, connection time scheduled, setting boundaries without guilt? Those are for you. This one's not about your spouse, but for you. Write it down in the chat if you feel comfortable. One thing that you're going to try in that regard. And I'm going to save a few moments for any Q&A in a moment, so I'll go through these next couple slides pretty quickly. But one of my favorite things to do is make a commitment to myself. And so make that commitment to yourself. I hope you'll enjoy nerding out with me a bit there that I love that so much. But it just makes me feel safe when I know I can trust me. So in the chat, type tonight I'm going to, or, soon I'm going to do this or that. And maybe it's, I'm just going to name it out loud. And that's going to be the thing that you do. So, which tool will you try tonight? Take a moment to think that through. I love that. You're going to name the field and schedule the connection time. I love that you're going to have boundaried conversations and also seek advice from husband and very good at that. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful, Rennie. You're going to name it out loud. You're going to make time for your husband when you have company for Christmas. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. And I definitely get it that all these things are flowing through your mind right now. And you know they're going to be intentional, they're not going to always come easy. But I'm going to go ahead and have you build safety with yourself in this little practice we do together, too. This is something I wrote for us for this moment just before we end. But go ahead and get comfortable again. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Otherwise, just read for a moment and just allow yourself to sit first with the sorrow and then I'll read it with you. But you're first going to sit with your sorrow of what doesn't feel good with your instincts. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to think about all the good and all the blessings in your life. And you're not going to run away from others just because of your instincts. Or you're not going to run toward where you're bowling over somebody because you're going to build safety with yourself. So here it is. Go ahead and close eyes if comfortable. Sorrow takes hold. How could it be that I am here? I decide to breathe through it first. It is real, and I am here. And I decide to next release. Now breathe deeply 3 times. This is you taking hold of sorrow and letting yourself own that things aren't perfect. So in that, just take a few breaths with your eyes closed and allow yourself to just sink into knowing, yes, that's real. And now we're going to ask, what good lives here alongside sorrow? What beautiful love can I take hold of now or in a memory that fills me with gratitude for what good there was or is? So I want you to think about something good in your life that is also true, something beautiful. When I did this, I thought of my kids when they were babies. Maybe you think of a niece or nephew. Maybe you just think of some beautiful thing that's right now happening. I'm sure there's lots of good and hard both right now. I allow this too, and I stop outsourcing my safety to all the wrongs of the world. I now instead release my breath with a grateful sigh. So breathe out or sigh several times deeply. and remind yourself, I can see the good. I can be the good. And I take the next step to connection. And now take one nice deep breath and come back to me. And we'll come back to a screen to see if anyone has thoughts or questions in a moment. But you can always borrow this or any practice you make too, just to allow yourself to say, this is hard, but there's also so much good. And I can breathe and acknowledge both in my life. And then I'm safe. Okay, so let's answer your questions. See if you have any. And one of them might be, oh my gosh, this is helpful. Where can I go deeper? And I'll show you our PDF. And Melody, if you can put it in the chat if you do need more and you want some actual deep dives. This is the Instinctual Marriage Playbook that Hannah made, where we have all of the pairings and we have all the teams that you might be dealing with against and for each other, and hopefully for. But what is in it is you have your detailed breakdown of how your combos show up in marriage, breaking the dance, also a step-by-step guide for recognizing when you're in your pattern and how to interrupt it before it escalates. And then you also have communication scripts, which is a client fave because everyone always says, what do we say? What is the phrase I can say? What is my script? And then just a quick one-page reference guide so you can print and have it handy. And I don't always give you those, so I'm like, we have to include that too. So that is there. And of course, I want to take questions. Also, if you like, you can share in the chat what your biggest takeaway from today is. But I'm just going to come back with you and put some light music on for us in our last couple minutes, because I love to have good music. So I'm going to stop the screen share and see if anyone has questions from today. And thank you for sharing that, Melody. And thank you, everyone, for sharing this special time with me. Any questions before we head out?
I don't have any questions, but I did want to remind everyone also that using the code December, all of the products on their website are 30% off, which includes like our coaching packages and like all of those big ones. So if you need to get some holiday shopping done for friends or your spouse, keep that in mind. And then this code for this Zoom only works for you guys who have been in the Zoom. Um, so if you are going to get it, make sure to take advantage of that and it does not expire. So.
Oh, yay. Thank you, Mel, for making that not expire for this loyal crew. I love that. And I'm so glad. I totally get it about multitasking, Vina. I totally do. And I love that we've got to be together. Thank you for being here. It's beautiful. Also, I love that Melanie says that she got to, yeah, see the revelation. They both have SX instinct. Anybody have questions, though, or comments?
I do. I just have a quick question.
Yeah,
Hey,
great.
Krista, thanks. That was great.
Well, thank
Um, I think I'm social, but if you want deep connection, does that actually make you more one-to-one?
Yes, it does. I mean, technically speaking, it's not that social people don't, but typically social people are connecting in lighter ways. So you could be
Okay.
social and sexual, but you might even be a bit more towards sexual if you're like, and that's even why the emojis seem silly, but like the fire emoji is very real for the sexual. If you're like, yes, I love the intense, I love the heat, I love the deep, but maybe you don't want it as often as if you weren't also social. Like maybe you're content with sometimes. Is that how you are?
Yeah, I think that makes sense for me. And I loved recognizing, learning that my husband's self-pres, and this weekend on Sunday, he was had a ski patrol training on his calendar, and he woke up in the morning, and I thought we had the morning to hold hands and go to church and connect and have coffee, and he was
Yeah.
all about planning and packing his sandwich, and I was right away, without judging or getting upset, I was like, oh, he's just in a self-pres mode. So, okay, how can I come alongside you and make a sandwich for you? So it was really helpful. So thank you.
Oh my
It's been very
God. Oh,
insightful.
I'm so glad you were already able to start doing that like awareness check of this is just him and it's his way of feeling safe. So good. And
Sure.
that's what I had to do for Wes that time when I was like, oh my gosh, like he didn't give me the notice, but then he ended up going to the event and I'm like, he needed that. He was
Mhm.
like, I was the only medical provider at my office that day. You know, I was the only one and I needed my regulation. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's social. Like, this is not trying to be mean or forget you, but like, we have to do that or it'll be disaster. And I'm sure we've all been there where we haven't done it and it has been disaster. This is not theoretical. Okay. Anybody else want to comment out loud as we're landing with this and feeling it out together?
Yeah, sir.
Yes, I'd be interested. Oh, go ahead, Melanie.
Okay, sure. I think for me, uh, they were both self-pres, but I find that our fights or whatever that we're scared of is the sexual. That's the I'm scared of losing you. That is definitely what our fights are about. That's
Oh,
underneath both of them, as opposed to I'm scared we don't have enough. That's not it.
interesting. And I
I-
wonder if that could be an argument could be made for that to be really underneath all of the human connections we have.
mhm.
Because we know that that's more important than anything else. We do know that. So it
Yeah.
makes me even, I mean, even Enneagram in marriage is based on the sexual instinct. You know, it is. And your marriage is based on that instinct. So I get that. You're like, while we're both self-pres a lot, we're also both very sexual.
Yeah, I didn't honestly didn't ever get that
Oh,
until
it's so good.
these sentences came out because yeah, it made sense to me.
Yeah, it's so true. And I'm sure we could find a few people out there who are not sexual at all, at all, at all. But most of us are. Okay. And what were you going to say too, Michelle? I love that.
Well, this has been learning about this all has been so helpful for me, and I am social, self-pres, and my husband is sexual first. So how can I raise that sexual a little more? I keep learning about how much more he is sexual than me. He's also an eight, so multiply that.
Yeah.
And then, so how, and I'm a six, social, self-pres. So we are the extreme opposites in this.
Mm-hmm.
Any
Mm.
tips for how to be more sexual, like, or how to raise that up, or
Yeah.
where to
Mhm.
find it?
Yeah. I think
Because it's
that
very repressed. I mean, there's even like,
mm,
the Christian part
mhm.
about before you get married, you have to be very, very careful with that, right? So what with a repressed sexual part, I was way too careful with it or whatever, even. And then when you
Mhm.
get married, how to let go of that, and find it.
Mhm. Mhm. That is such a journey. I mean, that I just did. There's a girl's book actually, it comes out today called Famished, and I have her on the podcast tomorrow. It's already scheduled and in the block. But so tomorrow's podcast, listen to it. But it's still only the tip of the iceberg because that was her story, just like yours. And I feel like the 1% better theory goes well here of just saying to yourself, I know it's a blind spot. I know scheduling intimacy might be, yes, one thing, but for you, even just saying sometimes you're still locked up from all this historical parts of you, like preparing yourself mentally before and saying, I know I'm social, so today I'm going to be somewhat social in the daytime so I can have my regulation. But then later today, I'm going to give a little block of time for me to get myself into the mood. And it could be putting perfume on, a nice shower. It could be putting on some, what is it, Sade or fun Taylor Swift, something that's a little like fun music that's a little seductive for you, that you doesn't make you feel bad spiritually. You know, it can't be a trigger music where you're like, ooh, I shouldn't be listening to this. It has to be something that makes you feel jazzy or something. And then allowing yourself to come into your sexual plans that you've made, I think will help you. But it means don't forget your social, which is your secure place. Don't try to make it sexual instead of social. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Of course, absolutely. And I know Shalon has to hop off. And oh, I love how Bina shared Hillary McBride's book, Wisdom of the Body. That's great too, connecting with your body again. So good. So, oh my goodness, any other thoughts or questions before we end today? Wow. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. It was a delight and very lovely to get some social time with actually my people that I never get to see. So thank you for coming. I do get to see our collective members once a month, but that's also very special, and I'll see you tomorrow. But thank you so much for coming, you guys. It was a joy. And thank you, Melody, also for all your work. Absolutely. Thanks. I'll share the recording too. Bye, guys.
Bye, thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.